guys, let's talk about bisphenol A today. What is that? That is just BPA. I'm sure you've heard of it. I'm sure you've seen it all over in stores that they're removing it from our plastics. Well, is that really necessary? Yes, I believe that it is necessary. BPA was actually found to be possibly hazardous to humans a while back in a mice study that they were performing. They found that about 40% of the eggs that they were harvesting from mice were actually deformed, and a bunch of the mice were actually miscarrying, and they couldn't figure out why. They went back and checked the water supply and found that BPA had been leached in the water supply from the plastic water canisters that were degrading in the cages. So they thought, man, maybe this is cause for further investigation to make sure that it's not affecting humans in some sort of way. So the FDA has done studies on it, and they've checked what BPA does to the nervous system, which of course is like a short-term study. But really what needs to be done is a long-term study checking the effects of our endocrine system, which is the system that is responsible for hormone balances. And the reason why is because BPA, when we ingest it, mimics estrogen in our body. And so long continual exposure to estrogen we know has devastating effects. We know it affects our breast tissue. We know it affects the prostate. We know it contributes to all sorts of other imbalances within our body. Yes, of course, God made us with an amazing filtration system, and we do excrete a lot of that. That's why if humans are tested, we find that about 90% of Americans have BPA in our urine. So that's a good thing that our body's taking care of it, but what are the long-term effects if we're ingesting this on a day-to-day basis over long periods of time? And we just don't know because there hasn't been long enough studies to do that. So to recognize it as not being hazardous isn't correct either. So I would say that this is something that I'm not going to freak out about it if you end up consuming BPA or using products that have BPA, but it would be something that I would want to recognize and maybe avoid, or if I had the ability to avoid it, I would. So let's talk about that. Where are we finding BPA? Okay, so if you're using a plastic coffee maker and it's being heated up every day, well, those plastic parts on the inside are, I'm sorry, they will have BPA in your coffee. If you're drinking out of plastic water bottles, it's going to be there. Even the canned goods actually have a plastic lining up at the top to seal in the food items that is made of plastic with BPA. I know it's a killer because one of the most contaminated canned goods is tomatoes because they're acidic. And what they do is they break down that plastic and excrete the BPA. Oh, that is a killer for me because I use those all the time. So if you're heating up foods on plastic plates and giving them to your kids, know that you are exposing them to BPA. I'm sorry to tell you that, but it's just, we need to know these things. If you are putting hot beverages in plastic cups, you're exposing yourself to BPA. The other big source of BPA contamination is going to be from heating anything in plastic. So don't tell me if you're doing this, just don't tell me. But if you are heating a plastic baby bottle or a plastic food container in the microwave, you are exposing yourself to the highest level of BPA because you're degrading the plastic, and over time, oh man, I can't even imagine what that's doing. But you want to just throw those things out. They're coming out with new items. There's actually BPA-free lids, and some of them are legit. They're made of a vegetable. There's a vegetable source that they're using. But the majority of the BPA items that are still plastic are made of something called bisphenol S. What they've found is they've replicated something, or they've made something quite similar to BPA, It's BPS. And it takes longer to degrade, but what they're finding is it still degrades, it still mimics estrogen, and so although it doesn't break down as quickly, it still is breaking down. So long term, what is this doing? Possibly the same exact thing. So what does that mean? We just need to find other alternatives other than plastic. So we know stainless steel is fine. We know glass is fine. So maybe we're gonna want to try to switch to those things. So I would invest in buying glass plates, have glassware. I would have stainless steel cups, water bottles. It's cheaper anyway. You just fill it up with your filtered water, rinse those out, and use that on a daily basis. So going forward, I would just be aware. Let's avoid those plastic items when possible. Don't freak out if you have to use those, but let's just over time start to transition out of using those things in the long run, just because we don't know what the effects are long term, and we would hate to put our kids at risk.